Hey guys. Hey, real quick, I'm going to show you. Ever since I was little, out of my grandparents' farm, they had license tags on all the old vehicles, and I've been collecting license tags pretty much all. I mean, there's a sampling of them. That's Kansas from about 1950 forward, and then I don't know if I have a light over here where you're going to be able to see these, but here's some real older ones from Kansas. Just a little blank time. Hey, Clint. I can always count on you to be in there with that wrench, man. I appreciate you. And there's the keeping the swine in line. Love that dude. He's always around. Glad to see you here, man. All right, so this is just going to be a real quick update. There's a lot of videos I'm hoping to put out. Shandu. So it's been an interesting couple days in Lawrence. On Monday, we had the Community Police Review Board work group. I had given all of them information about Skylar Richardson's bias, and at the same time, I try brother, I am. You know, I want to, before I get into this, Clinton Harris Hansen, he moderates my channel. He does the same for Reagan Benson. He's always around, and I've talked to him on the phone a number of times. He helps me discuss things and understand things a little better. I really appreciate his help. And those of you that have Clinton in your fan base, you need to utilize that guy because he does understand what's going on and he's got some good ideas. But going back to Monday night, we had the Police Review Board work group meeting. And during that meeting, one of the work group members had brought up the information that I had dropped off about Skylar Richardson. This is real interesting, and it's going to be hard for me to lay out this in a way that everybody's going to understand in the videos. I'm going to try to do that the best I can, but it's going to take me some time to do it. Because telling the story is a little difficult, because not everybody is up to speed on everything. And I'll give you an example. I was talking to a guy that's been a long-time resident. His family's been around here for over 100 years. And I was talking to him. He lived close to where they were going to put a homeless project. And I was asking him about that. And he's under the impression that we have all these extra beds that aren't filled. And see, this is the problem with the local news, is they're not putting out the details accurately. They're telling the city's story, and they're telling the police story and the people in authority. It seems like our news coverage here is somehow. John Winchester, glad to see you, man. I haven't seen you in a little while on the channel. Peace. And so looking at the leverage in the town with related to the media, here's how this all played out. Now, I'm going to go back. This is the Skylar Richardson situation, okay? I went to the CPRB work group meeting on the 10th of July. And this is a little difficult because I'm seeing that I'm looking over here, but my camera is over there, so I apologize. I went to that meeting and I dropped off paperwork with everybody, letting them know what was going on with Skylar. At that meeting is also where Brenda Clary had told me that she had a client that depended 100% on his testimony. They still haven't. Actually, Miss Price, is that Chica? Whoever that is, last name Price, it is public now. You can go out. It became public 2 hours before the commission meeting where they were going to update the commission on this. And that's the other neat thing that happens is we don't get enough information to actually go in there and speak specifically. Yes, if you go to the CPRB work group meeting, Miss Price, is that, I'm saying Miss because I see a VIV at the beginning. I apologize if I'm getting that wrong. But yeah, go to the CPRB work group page or out to the city's YouTube page. If you go to the city's YouTube page, the work group meeting is available there. Now, during that work group, a couple things that I'm going to draw your attention to. The first thing, they brought in, she's talking Vivica. I'd like to know how to say that. It's going to be hard to do in text. So they had they had brought in public comment, and they had gotten public comments, and the work group facilitator Jonathan had asked them, okay, now communicate at your tables. Now at the first part of this meeting is where you're going to see this. This is one of the very beginning things that happens. And this may be how I have to do this, and I don't mind doing it because this has never been about money. After this feed is over, come back. I'm going to drop some links, and I'll put it on my community page to these actual videos on the city's page. You can go watch it on their page. This isn't about the money. This is about letting the information get out. So when they asked the work group to start talking about what they'd received as public comments, what I could hear in that meeting were officers telling stories about the street. And I'm pretty sure it was Skylar Richardson. Now, I wasn't at the meeting. I'm relying on the recording. I'm probably going to be at the next meeting so I can record it from a couple different angles so I can get the different conversations, because they're supposed to be discussing the public's input at this CPRB work group. This is the Citizens Police Review Board work group meeting that's supposed to be coming up with the ordinance that we're going to operate under. They have a biased officer, a member who's refusing to deal with it, and at the same time, they're sitting there listening to police officers tell their stories. You're supposed to be talking about the public and what our input was. So that's at the beginning of the meeting. Now, if you go forward to that hour 10 mark, what you're going to see is one of the board members bring out the information that I had given them about Skylar Richardson and gets the board into a conversation. You will literally hear a board member call me a saboteur. Now I'm a saboteur to their process. Guys, I've been doing this since before this work group was ever a process. At the same time as this whole conversation was happening, just shortly after the hour 10 mark, the chief decides to go into a big long rant about how well he knows me and knows what my intent is, and says that all my intent is to disrupt. I have no interest in accountability, no interest in oversight, none of this. And this chief met with me one time, and he talked me out of recording, playing a nice, cozy, good feeling guy. He's your best buddy when you're going to sit down and meet with him. And I didn't record that. And that at that meeting, he said he could see my pain, but immediately came out and started exonerating people that you guys saw it. Now, during this, he claims that I'm trying to use shock, and that I'm lying, and that I'm misrepresenting details, all kinds of stuff. The problem is all this stuff has been in their own words. The videos that I put up of Lockhart violating USC 1983, saying that charges to get compliance are commonplace. They just happen all the time around here, no big deal. Lockhart telling the board that they didn't have a case file on a bias complaint that they supposedly investigated, telling the board that they could not go to an executive session to discuss problems with him. I mean, this is the control exerted over the police department, over the board by the police department. And when I hear that kind of trash talk in a board meeting, now keep in mind that this board, in their ordinance, and one of the board members even brought this up, was that in their ordinance, they're not supposed to ignore people just because they're angry. And that's exactly what this city is doing. They're ignoring somebody because they're angry. Now let's figure out why I'm angry. And this is the thing. They try to pin these things on us, and they try to make us into threats by calling us angry and violent and all these other things. I've not been violent with anybody. I've said some pretty forceful things. Freedom of speech. We have the freedom to speak. And I can speak my mind however I choose. And I choose to do that in a city commission meeting, and in a board meeting, and online. There's very few that can. But this chief tries to spin it and tries to make it out like this is just one guy that's trying to disrupt everything, that's trying to screw everything up. I started filming police. I didn't go into the board meetings until after I got my attention drawn to them. In this chief's explanation of how horrible I am, I have been blamed for all the members of the CPRB resigning over years of time. This is the way he's put this. Now, this man's been in Lawrence for a year and a half, and he's referencing back to years in time of all this shit that I've done. What he doesn't understand, or well, he has to, maybe it's a comprehension thing with this guy, but he's the one that caused Jane Gibson to resign. Jane Gibson was a longtime member of that board, and apparently the chief went into some meeting with her and started spouting off about the differences between Ford and Chrysler. I don't have all those details in front of me, but it was in the from what I understood, in the aspect of, well, the police department has this way of doing it and you just can't understand. Well, bullshit. We understand law, and so did Jane Gibson, and that's part of why she resigned and wrote the resignation letter she did. And Lockhart, that was before I ever walked into a CPRB board meeting. I was never in attendance at a meeting where Jane Gibson sat as a board member. So, you can go screw yourself with that accusation. As far as me not being interested in accountability, ex-bootlicker, you're not late again, man. You can catch up. As far as not being anywhere interested in accountability, that's all I've been doing. That's all that's been going on in this entire town this whole time. Somebody going to every authority in town trying to find somebody to hold somebody accountable. Because the police department, the lies. Let's get to the lies. Okay, and you want to talk about gaslighting? When Lockhart sits in that CPR review board meeting, and the work group meeting, and he tries to talk about how horrible of a person I am, and during that, he claims that LPD fired Brad Williams. Now, if you don't remember, Brad Williams was our good old biased cop that was going after young females, had his name written on the bathroom stall in a stripper club. So he claims that LPD fired him. Now, the difficult thing is Lockhart claims to have investigated all this stuff about Skylar Richardson and all this other crap. But in a statement that they released, and in the statement that he made, he's claiming that they fired Brad Williams. No. And as I played at the county commission meeting tonight, they didn't fire Brad Williams. Lieutenant Unruh admitted during a C-post hearing to get Brad Williams decertified that a couple days after Lieutenant Unruh asked some very pointed questions, Brad Williams decided to resign because he saw the writing on the wall and knew where this was going. And just like every other LPD officer that's ever done anything wrong in this town, they're allowed to resign. They're allowed to resign. And why is that? Is it really because we're avoiding a lawsuit, or is it because we want our brother in blue to be able to go to another department and get a job? Let's be real. God, I get so irritated with this stuff. And it's because it's so plain to see and nobody sees it. So Lockhart's lies. Now here's where this even gets worse. Our local media, and I'm calling out specifically the Lawrence Journal World, Chad Lawhorn, and Austin Hornbostel.